And before we start the class, please let us take the blessings of the beautiful deities of ISKCON Mangaluru, Sri Sri Radha Govindji, Sri Sri Radha Govindji ki Jai. So yesterday we stopped chapter 1 at shloka 23. We'll start from 24 today. Okay. Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Ukto Rishikesho Guda Gudakeshena Bharata Senayor Ubayor Madhye Stapitva Ratottamam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Okay, so here they are saying that finally, like as Arjuna asked, in fact, ordered Krishna, all right, Krishna he brings the chariot and places it in between the two armies. Here, Arjuna is called as Gudakesha. Gudakesha means one who conquers sleep or ignorance, right? Because why has he conquered sleep or ignorance? Because whoever is with Krishna is never in ignorance, right? He's in full knowledge, right? So Arjuna, being Krishna's friend, he conquered sleep and ignorance. Okay, and I told you that story, right? How Arjuna, he was always thinking of Krishna, and he was in samadhi even while sleeping also. We heard that story in yesterday's class, right? Like how even when after the war, when Krishna went to write butter on his wounds, and afterwards Yudhishthir and everybody comes to know that how even in his sleep, when they go near and listen to him, to his body, the pores, each of the pore is saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So even in sleep also he is in samadhi thinking of Krishna. Okay, so that's why because of that great devotion of Arjuna, Krishna he became a charioteer to Arjuna. Okay, because Krishna gets sold out by his devotees, right? He does anything and everything for his pure devotees. Okay, so let's see 25. भीष्म द्रोण प्रमुखतः सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम् उवाच पार्थ पश्यैतान् समवेतान् कुरुनिति. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Yeah. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. So Lord Krishna, Rishikesha can understand the heart of Arjuna. Partha, son of Pritha. So why is Arjuna called Partha? Anybody? Why is Arjuna's name Partha? Because he is the son of Pritha. See, earlier Kunti Maharani's first name with his biological father, Surasena was her actual father, right? Birth father. Then Surasena gave her the name Pritha, right? So that is why Arjuna is called Partha. Later, Surasena he gave his her daughter Pritha to Kunti Bhoja to adopt. Okay, then Kunti Bhoja named her, changed her name from Pritha to Kunti. Okay, so initially her name was Pritha. That's why Arjuna is called Partha. Okay, so son of Pritha, Kunti, Arjuna being friend and son of Kunti, agreed to be his charioteer. Why? Because of his close relationship with Kunti. See, Kunti and Vasudeva were brother and sister. So Arjuna and Krishna, in that way, they became cousins. So that's why, because of that relationship, family relationship, Krishna became a charioteer. Okay, and now here, third point we see Lord Krishna jokingly said, "Just behold." Behold means see with attention. He didn't. He's saying see. Jokingly, he was trying to say actually, just behold, see. So he didn't expect that Arjuna will not fight, right? Being the son of Pritha, because he had what is this? He had that Kshatriya blood, right? He never thought he would quit fighting. Because he had that Kshatriya blood, he thought, okay, he will continue to fight. He never expected. So that's why jokingly he says, just behold, see. And that's why, especially Krishna, he stops the chariot, particularly in front of Bhishma and Dronacharya, because he's so affectionate. Arjuna is so affectionate. He was so affectionate to the Bhishmacharya that. Because they were childless, they were parentless, right? Pandu died when they were small children, and Bhishma Pita brought these Pandavas right from their childhood. So they had a lot of affection for Bhishma and Dronacharya also. And we know that Arjuna had special attraction for Dronacharya, right? He liked because he was a great archer and everything. And in many ways, he liked Arjuna very much. So, wantedly, Krishna he put the chariot in such a way that he could directly see Bhishma and Dronacharya. See, Krishna actually he already knew Arjuna's heart. So when he said, "Look at the Kurus," he was saying on the opposite side of the enemies, "Look at the Kurus." He was speaking like a loving family member. So he did not expect Arjuna to stop fighting. Okay, and he allowed Arjuna to see everyone on the battlefield opposite side, so his feelings would come out. He wanted the feelings of compassion to come out. See, if only the feelings of compassion would come out, then he would say that I will not fight. The compassion for his relatives, right? He didn't want his relatives to die. That compassion he wanted to come out. So this would be the start for Krishna to teach in the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, how would the Bhagavad Gita come out? See, if Arjuna didn't have that compassion, oh, I don't want to kill. He was in the concept of body. He didn't, until Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, he didn't know the concept of soul, right? Soul is eternal and everything. He was worried about the body of the relatives. And that compassion had to come. So for that compassion to come, Krishna had to give Arjuna some time. That's why he intentionally placed the chariot in such a way in the middle, and that too in front of Bhishma and Dronacharya, and so that all that compassion could come out. And because of that compassion, Arjuna would say, I will not fight. And that could be the reason for Krishna to start preaching the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So, and Arjuna, Krishna, he never expected that Arjuna will not fight, because he was a Kshatriya and son of Pritha, and because he belonged to a Kshatriya lineage, right? A great Bharata dynasty, Vamsha. So he had that Kshatriya blood in his veins, and he never thought he would stop fighting. But Krishna, this is all Krishna's plan actually, right? Because nothing happens without the will of Krishna. So Krishna, he purposely placed the chariot in the middle in front of Bhishma and Drona, so that seeing everybody, all his relatives, especially Bhishma and Drona, and that compassion should come out. And if that compassion comes out, then he will say, I will not fight. And then Krishna, it could be a chance for Krishna to come out with the Bhagavad Gita. Okay.
माता जी,
Yes, Prabhuji.
माता जी, Pritha was Queen Maharani Kunti.
Yes, Prabhuji. See, earlier the first, actually biological father was Surasena. Right. When Surasena, Kunti, I mean, was born to Surasena, he named her Pritha. Her first name was Pritha. Okay. But Surasena had a friend, close friend called Kunti Boja. And Kunti Boja, he didn't have any children. So what Surasena did, he gave Pritha to Kunti Boja. So Kunti Boja, he named Pritha as Kunti after his name Kunti Boja. So then later her name became Kunti. Okay, okay, Prabhuji?
Okay, माता जी.
Yeah, okay. So now let's go to 26. तत्र पश्यत् स्थितान् पार्थः पितॄन् अता पितामहान् आचार्यान् मातुलान् भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखींस्तथा स्वशुरान् सुहृदश्चैव सेनयोरुभयोरपि. So translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, teachers, grandfathers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers in law and well wishers. Okay, see. So, whom you see in the PPT, whom all could he see when after Krishna placed the chariot in the center between both the armies? Who all could he see? He could see all kinds of relatives, friends, and well wishers. And who could he see? Grandfathers like Bhishma and Somadatta, and teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, and brothers like Duryodhana, and sons like Lakshmana. Who is Lakshmana? Anybody? No idea? The Lakshmana is Duryodhana's son. Okay, so so sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwathama, well wishers like Kritavarma, and many other friends and relatives. So, when the chariot was placed in between, Arjuna could see all of them, all kinds of relatives, friends, and well wishers he could see. Okay, so let's go to 27. Tan samikshya Sakaunteyaha Sarvan Bandhun Avastitan Kripaya Paryavishto Vishidan Idam Abravit. Translation: when the son of Kunti, Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. See, after seeing all his relatives, because he's thinking they are body, right? Because of body, because he's thinking that if he kills the body, there'll be no more, right? So, because out of compassion, their relatives will be no longer there. So, out of compassion, because a devotee means what? Even though the other person may do so much harm, he has compassion, he has daya, he has mercy. Okay, so that's why here we see that even though the other side, they are enemies, his enemies who are willing to fight against them, he is having so much compassion, mercy, daya, kripa he is having, because these are the general qualities of a pure devotee. And with that compassion, what did he speak? He spoke thus. So let's see what he spoke to Krishna. Okay, so let's see what he speaks in 28. Arjuna Uvacha Drishtvemam Swajanam Krishna Yuyutsam Samupastitam Sidanti Mama Gatrani mukham cha parishusyati. Translation: Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." So now we see bodily symptoms. See Arjuna's reaction after seeing his relatives. So all the bodily changes we'll see now. See in 28 shloka, Arjuna, what symptoms is showing? Limbs of my body are quivering and my mouth is drying up. So he couldn't believe that the people, the people that he cared for so deeply would be so determined to fight and possibly even die. Okay, see, Arjuna was so astonished to see their fighting spirit. Okay, actually, all of them were the relatives, but that's the reason Arjuna was astonished. How could they fight against me? They're all my relatives, and they're even ready to die also. So, Arjuna, that's why he was astonished. Okay, so this sympathy and compassion that Arjuna is showing, we should understand are the symbols, are the qualities of a pure devotee. Right, we should not think that Arjuna, seeing Kaurava's army, he felt weak at heart and he got scared or something. That's why he didn't want to fight or something like that. No, it is just because of his compassion. Right, a devotee he is very soft-hearted at heart. Okay, he is very compassionate. He has daya, mercy, and he is very soft-hearted. So these are the characteristics of a pure devotee of the Lord, right? So he is not like, you should not think that, oh, Arjuna is a Maharathi, right? He never lost in any war. Okay, there was always victory for him. So we should not think it is weakness of the heart. Oh, because he saw that Kauravas had 11 Akshohini and they had less Sena, he became weak at heart. We should not think that way. It is only out of compassion, mercy, that daya and the soft heartedness that he was not willing to fight. He was not prepared to kill his relatives on the other side. Okay, so genuine devotees of the Lord have all these godly qualities, and non devotees lack such qualities. Obviously, non devotees. Okay, so not okay. So Arjuna was showing all these godly qualities. Non-devotees lack such qualities. So non-devotees, see, that's why there's a lot of difference between Duryodhana and Arjuna. So Duryodhana, he was a non-devotee. So he was so much bent upon, like by hook or crook, by cheating or however, I want to get that kingdom, which was actually not his. Right? It was actually the whole kingdom was actually the Pandavas, but the Pandavas being so nice, they wanted to, they said that we'll at least take half, no problem. But if not at least half, finally they sent Krishna. Krishna asked for 5 villages. So for which they didn't even agree, because of which they had to take up this war. Otherwise, the Pandavas were not at all interested in war. But the non-devotees, see, they didn't want to give even villages. He didn't want to give. Duryodhana, he didn't want to give, because of which they by hook or by crook they want to fight or however, but they want to get what they want. Okay, so those are the qualities of non-devotees. Okay, so let's see 29. वेपतुश्च शरीरे मे रोमहर्षश्च जायते गाण्डीवं श्रंशते हस्तात्वक्चैव परिदह्यते. Translation: my whole body. See now further symptoms like what Arjuna is showing. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. See further symptoms: body trembling, hair standing on end, bow slipping, skin burning. All these are happening further. See, earlier we saw limbs of my body quivering, my mouth is drying up. And now, body trembling, hair standing on end, bow slipping, skin burning. Okay. So Arjuna, he was very scared to fight actually. His body shook, his hair stood up, his bow slipped, and his skin felt it was burning. It was hot. So this happened because he was thinking only about losing his life, not about doing his duty or serving Krishna. At that point, he was thinking only in terms of body. Okay. So he was even prepared to give up his life, right? But he forgot his about his duty of serving Krishna. See, when does fear come? Fear basically comes when we focus on ourselves, not on what is right. Okay, let's see clearly. Okay, see here Arjuna's symptoms you see in the PPT, you'll understand. What are the symptoms he showed? Body trembling, hair standing on end in the blue box we could see. Now, why does this generally happen? See, when do we see the body is trembling or hair is standing on end? There are two situations. One is in great spiritual ecstasy, and one is in when you're very frightful, your hair stands on end, right? When you see a horror movie or when you're in the dark, you get scared or something like that. Because out of that fear, your hair stands. When you're in too much happiness, also it stands, right? These are two situations only when your hair stands and your body trembles. Okay, when you have great spiritual ecstasy, that is not a reason of fear. When you're happy, obviously that is a happy occasion which does not cause any fear. Okay, you're fearful when, right? Fear due to loss of life. Now here Arjuna's hair is standing because he's thinking fear due to loss of life. He's thinking that because of his killing, the other people on the other side, they will die, right? Because he's fearing something, right? Fear due to loss of life. That's why what happened? His bow is slipping, his heart is burning. So this is the material conception of life. See, in material world, if we have attachment to anything, for example, if we say a cell phone itself, see, if you lose a cell phone, you will not be able to have food for 3 days. You will not have sleep for three days. Am I telling? కూర్చోండి పడుకోండి. You can imagine that situation, right? 3 days, you will not, you will have everything, all your details in the phone. You will not sleep for 3 days, or you will not eat properly for 3 days. So much attachment you have for your phone. I'll just be back 1 second. Huh? Please give me a second. Hare Krishna, I'm so sorry. I had to put drops in my mother-in-law's eyes, so I had to go. I'm so sorry. Okay. So, this is the material conception of life. We are so attached to things like either be it our family members or our cell phone or our money or all these things that when we lose them, we get great fear, right? This is our material condition. That is when we get fear. And the greatest fear is when we die. We think we are this body, and when this body goes, we have a lot of fear. That is the highest fear anybody has. Okay, so that's what here, that's why, because Arjuna is fearing loss of life of his family members or relatives, that is why he had that fear. Okay, so that is why his bow is slipping, his heart is burning. So that's why they say, right, you should try to develop, like you should try to get detached from all these material attachments. How can you get detached from all these material attachments? When you get a higher taste, right? So you divert your senses to Krishna consciousness. So instead of putting your senses on all these things, material things, you divert your senses to serving Krishna. So you use your eyes to see the beautiful form of Krishna. So you use your ears to hear Harikatha. You use your tongue for Krishna Prasadam and to talk about Krishna. So use your hands and legs to serve Krishna, to go to the temple of Krishna. Okay, so that is how we should use it. Okay, so that is why Arjuna, because out of that fear that he will lose his family members, because of that great attachment, so he's showing all these symptoms: bow slipping, heart burning, because he had that material conception of life. Because he didn't
Ma-
understand the concept of soul till that time. Because Krishna didn't still explain that this thing. He's still on that body, thinking that if he kills that body, everything is over. Okay, yeah, Prabhuji.
Mataji, what is the difference between spiritual ecstasy and normal? Uh, uh, the What is the difference between the trembling which is caused due to spiritual ecstasy and the trembling which is caused due to normal fear?
Fear is like not that spiritual ecstasy. For us, we can think it is happiness, Prabhuji. See what happens when something like you never expected, you study for an exam and you expected some normal thing and you got a first rank, then how happy you would be. Your hairs will be standing on, and that is the happiness, right? When the unexpected happens, that is ultimate happiness for you at that time. So that happiness is not a cause of fear, right? You are in a very excited moment. But fear is like, suppose for instance, I'm giving you, like, you see a very what do you say, a horror movie in the night. See, then your hands stand on and seeing all those scary images and everything, that is fear, right? So here actually the fear that we are talking about is death of Arjuna is fearing loss. The highest fear that we have is death, right? So Arjuna here, he's fearing the death of his relatives who are on the other side. He's thinking that once he kills, their bodies will be gone and they'll be gone forever. So that is what created fear in him. Okay, that is why his hair was standing on end. Okay, so one is like you're too happy, or one is like you're too fearful. So two conditions where your hair stands on body. Extreme conditions: too happy and too fearful. Okay, you must have experienced. I mean, like our hair doesn't stand, but we can understand. It's like we are trying to say that either in too much of happiness or too much of fear. Okay, like that. Okay, let's go to Shloka 30. न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुं ब्रह्मातीव च मे मनः निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव. Translation: I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. Now, Arjuna, he was feeling very confused and upset. His mind was spinning and he couldn't even stand properly. And he saw problems and sadness ahead. So, this happened because he was too attached to his family, friends, and material things, forgetting what really matters. What is that? Krishna. He forgot Krishna. And he was so attached. He got so attached to family, friends, and material things. He forgot Krishna and to serve him. See, when we focus only on ourselves and forget God, we feel fear, worry, and unhappiness, just like Arjuna did. So, even winning would not make him happy. because he didn't see his true self-interest in Krishna. He forgot Krishna and he's just thinking about himself. Right? He's saying, he's thinking, he's so attached to all his family and friends and material things that he totally forgot about Krishna. See, when we forget about Krishna, that is the time fear starts in us. Fear, worry, unhappiness. See, why are we in this material world? Because we rejected Krishna, right? And when we reject Krishna, Maya binds us. We are bound by the three trigunas, right? Right? When we are bound with these three ropes, we automatically, like, it's because we've turned our back against Krishna. But if we turn our face towards Krishna, Maya can do nothing. We are now in Krishna's control. And Maya is a devotee of Krishna. So Maya cannot do anything to us. Okay, so as long as we turn our back against Krishna, we have all these fears, worries, all these troubles we have. But if we turn our face towards Krishna, Maya cannot do anything. Okay, that we have to understand. So here, Arjuna, he was so much attached to all his family, friends, relatives, that bodily attachment. He was so attached, he forgot about Krishna. Our goal in this human life is you serve Krishna. I mean, if you forget Krishna and you serve how many ever your family, friends, neither you are happy nor they are happy. But if you try to satisfy Krishna, everybody is satisfied. It is like you're watering the root of the tree, or the whole tree is nourished. You don't have to pour water on the leaves, fruits, branches separately. You don't have to. You just pour water at the root, the whole tree is nourished. Okay, that is what you have to understand. Okay, so that is what you have to understand. Okay. So let's go to, let's see what is given in the purport 30. See? See, further symptoms, he is unable to stand any longer. See, Arjuna sees only causes of misfortune. So further symptoms, Arjuna is unable to stand any longer. He's forgetting himself, his mind is reeling. And see, all this is happening because of Krishna. It is Krishna's will. See, if Krishna doesn't do all this to Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita will not come out. Right? Through Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita had to come out for all of us, right? There should be a reason, right? So Krishna, he aroused all these compassionate feelings in Arjuna so that he would stop fighting. And then, so Arjuna, Krishna could teach him the Bhagavad Gita and tell him to do his duty through the Bhagavad Gita. So, by Krishna's will, Arjuna showed all these symptoms like forgetting himself, and that is because of weakness of mind. Why did he get that weakness of mind? Because of excessive material attachments, right? What is that excessive material attachments to his relative, to the bodies of his relatives? He was thinking that if he kills, the bodies will be lost forever, they'll be killed forever. Okay, and then nimittani viparitani. So he frustration, thinking, why am I here? See, every living entity, see, generally in this material world, if you see, they are interested in himself and his own welfare, right? They are interested in his own self and own welfare, like and his bodily attachments, like his family members, society. So he is interested in himself, his family members, his society, his country, like that. Okay, that is why he suffers. See, because if he thinks only in his interests and his own welfare, he's creating his own karma. Right? Karma could be good or bad karma, and that he has to come back and attach. I mean, he has to enjoy or suffer in this material world. But if the living entity, if he understands what is the real interest of the jiva, he understands that he's a soul, and what is the real interest of a soul? Jivera swarupa hoy, Krishnera nityadas. Right? Serve Krishna. We were created by Krishna to serve him. Okay, so the real interest of the jiva should be to serve Krishna or Vishnu. Okay, and here Krishna is called Keshava. Keshava means Anybody who knows what is why Krishna is called Keshava?
Mataji, killer of the demon Keshi.
Hari Bol. Yes, correct, Prabhuji. Exactly.
Ma,
Yeah,
Mataji,
yeah.
Keshi demon was the Madhouse with red eyes who Lord Krishna killed.
Horse, Prabhuji.
Keshi demon.
Yeah, Kesi is a horse demon. Kesi came in the form of a horse. The demon came in the form of a horse. Okay, so he's the killer of demon Kesi. So here, why is Krishna called Keshava? Because Arjuna had demon-like doubts. So Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill the doubts, demon-like doubts that he had in mind. So that is why Arjuna is calling Krishna here as Keshava. Okay. So now let's go to 31. So these are Arjuna's symptoms of compassion. See if you can see limbs quivering, mouth drying up, whole body trembling, hair of the body standing on end, hands, Gandiva bows slipping, skin burning, legs unable to stand any longer due to impatience, and forgetting myself and mind reeling. All this we saw, right? So he's seeing only causes of misfortune. So now let's go to 31. न च श्रेयो अनुपश्यामि हत्वा स जनम् आहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्णा न च राज्यं सुखानि च. Translation: I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Okay, so now Arjuna was very sad and confused. He thought, how can I be happy if I have to fight and kill my own family and friends? And he didn't want victory, a kingdom, or any pleasure because he loved his relatives so much. Okay, see, normally a Kshatriya must fight to protect his people and dharma. But Arjuna, he didn't want to do it. He even thought of leaving everything and going alone and living in the forest. Right? He forgot that true happiness comes from serving Krishna, not just from family or material things. Okay? Okay. Arjuna cannot enjoy kingdom at the cost of killing others. Okay, so see here Arjuna being attracted to, you see in the ash color boxes, see Arjuna is a Kshatriya, right? He got attracted to bodily relationships hoping to be happy, right? And that's why he didn't want to kill his relatives. He got attached to the body of his relatives. That's why he didn't want to kill his relatives. He thought that killing his relatives, if I kill my relatives, there'll be no happiness in life, right? So that's why he was not willing to fight. So they are comparing, they're giving an analogy if you see in that white box. So because he didn't want kingdom, obviously, so he didn't want to fight. It's like, see, if you're not hungry, you're not going to cook. See, that's the analogy given. See, if you're not hungry, you will not cook. So that now Arjuna, he didn't want the kingdom. That's why he said, I don't want to fight. Okay, and that's why he decided to go to the forest and live a life of a renunciate by going begging from house to house, or however he wanted to run away into the forest. Okay, so that's what they're trying to say here. And so in thinking about all these bodily attachment, Arjuna, he forgot the moral codes also. See, as a Kshatriya, it is his duty to fight in the battlefield, right? If any Kshatriya challenges him to fight, even in the night time, it's his duty to go and fight. If a Kshatriya challenges him for a gambling or a fight, he should never say no. It's his a duty as a Kshatriya to fight or attend that gambling match. And here, Krishna, he says that a Kshatriya who's dying in the battlefield under Krishna's orders and And if a devotee under the renounced order of life, right? He's I mean, who is devoted to Krishna, they are if they die, they are eligible to enter into the sun planet. So entering the sun planet means what? It's a heavenly planet. So it means happiness. So Arjuna, he forgot happiness also, thinking about the because he got attracted to the bodily relationship of his relatives. He forgot his moral codes as a kshatriya, his duty as a kshatriya to fight. The basic thing he forgot because of getting attracted to the bodily relationship of the relatives. So we saw, right? Actually, as a Kshatriya, if he fights, what will happen? He will go to the heavenly planet. Under Krishna's orders, he is fighting now. So he would have gone to the sun planet, the heavenly planet. But because he got attracted to the bodies of his relatives, he said, killing, I won't kill my relatives. If I kill my relatives, there'll be no happiness in life. That is why I don't want to fight. Then that's why he wanted to even go into the forest and live a secluded life. Okay. 32 to 35. किं नु राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा येषाम् अर्थे काङ्क्षितं नो राज्यं भोगाः सुखानि च त इमे अवस्थिता युद्धे प्राणान् त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्याः पितरः पुत्रास्तथैव च पितामहाः मातुलः श्वशुराः पौत्राः शालाः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान् न हन्तुम् इच्छामि ज्ञातोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतोः किं नु मही कृते निहत्या धातराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन. So translation, O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers in law, grandsons, brothers in law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Now, Arjuna, he was very sad and worried. He's telling Krishna, see, what use is this kingdom or happiness or even life if my family and friends might die on this battle? See, I don't want to fight for them, even if I get the whole of three worlds. See, generally, see, if we, for example, if we pass an exam and we come state first, now we need somebody to share this result with, right? You will not just keep it to yourself, then there'll be no happiness for you, right? You want to tell your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, your everybody you want to tell. Otherwise, how will you share your happiness? You just won't keep it to yourself, right? Now, that same thing Arjuna is saying. See, after killing everybody in the battle, there'll be nobody except me, and I get that whole kingdom or the whole three worlds kingdom. What is the use of that? Whom will I share the happiness with? What is the use of me getting the kingdom when everybody is dead? Whom will I share my happiness with? What is the use of such victory? So that is what he's saying here. And Arjuna is calling Krishna Govinda here because Krishna is the source of all happiness. See, Arjuna wanted Krishna to understand his feelings. See, normally, people they want to satisfy their own senses, but see, people want to satisfy their senses in the sense. See, when we go to the temple, what do? We go to God and we put our list. Krishna or whoever God we worship. See, I have so and so list. You please fulfill all this. Like if Krishna is our like our order carrier. we order Krishna, like, see, this is what I have, Krishna, you please fulfill all this. So we want Krishna to satisfy our senses, but in return, but what does a devotee do? A devotee, he tries to satisfy, please the senses of Krishna first. See, if we try to satisfy the senses of Krishna, then all our needs are naturally met. That we should understand. If we try to satisfy the senses of Krishna, all our senses are naturally satisfied. That we should understand. Okay, and here Arjuna, he loved his relatives and he did not want to hurt them. He even wished that if anyone had to die, Krishna would do it himself. He was saying, Krishna, I don't want to kill, now you only kill. I'm not interested. I don't want to kill all my relatives. See, if you are telling me to kill, so you only kill. It's better you kill. He was telling. But at this point, Arjuna didn't know that Krishna had already decided the outcome, right? He showed him in the he will show in the Vishwarupa that in the future that he had actually killed all of them. He is just becoming an instrument in that. That he is not understanding, right? So Krishna had already decided the outcome that all of them are going to die. Kauravas all are going to die, and that Arjuna is just a tool in his plan. Okay. Hare Krishna, please mute yourself. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, so Arjuna was only an instrument in his plan because Krishna had already decided that all the people that are there on the battlefield, they will be killed, and Arjuna is just an instrument. He's just using Arjuna as an instrument so that he could give the credit to Arjuna. Okay, and we should understand one thing: a devotee like Arjuna doesn't fight out of personal anger or desire. He had no what do you say, greed that he wanted the king. He wanted to enjoy the kingdom or something like that. He is just doing this to please Krishna. See, he wants to act just according to the will of Krishna. Right, and one more point that is mentioned in the purport: the Lord doesn't tolerate harm to his devotees. Okay, so the Lord can accept, what do you say, if you blaspheme the Lord, He's okay with that. But if you blaspheme or ill treat His devotees, or what do you say, you harm His devotees, He will not tolerate at any cost. Even though the devotees may forgive that person, but Krishna will never forgive him. So that's why Vaishnava Aparadh is very dangerous. We have to be very careful because every Vaishnava is very dear to Krishna. So we have to be very careful in our dealings with Vaishnavas. We should never see, if we think when I talk to that Vaishnava, I will commit aparadh. It's better we be far away from them and maintain that respect. Right? Just say Hare Krishna, Prabhuji or Mataji, and then maintain a distance. But don't please commit Vaishnava Aparadh. That's what Krishna is telling here. Because if you do any harm to Krishna directly, Krishna will forgive. He will not even care. See, like this example where Hiranyakashipu was blaspheming Krishna or Vishnu so much, but he never even bothered. He just left it. But when Hiranyakashipu was blaspheming or harming his devotee Prahlada, that is the time he came out because he was torturing his devotee so much. That's why he came as Narasimha to protect his devotee. Right? So we should never try to do Vaishnava Aparadh. So here we see in the PPT, so more clear understanding here is given. If you understand, see, the living entity, if he tries to satisfy his own, he tries to satisfy his own senses, right? See, he thinks Krishna is my order supplier. So that should not be the case. See, we go to the temple, we say, Krishna, please fulfill my wishes. We think Krishna is our order supplier. Okay, we ask him to satisfy our these things, our desires, right? But that should not be. And if you ask him also, what happens? See, the Lord will satisfy to the extent they deserve, not desire. See, you may desire so much. See, this much you may desire, but for your karma, only maybe this much is there. So, how much ever you deserve, that much only Krishna will give. Okay, so you may ask for this much, but he will give you only this much because this is what your karma is. But if the living entity satisfies Krishna's senses by Lord's will, all his desires are satisfied. So he will get everything, he will get. If he automatically satisfies Krishna's sense, if we do anything to please Krishna, automatically by Lord's will, all his desires will be satisfied fully. But if we try to do it on our own, Krishna will satisfy it only to the extent our karma is. How much ever is our karma, for that he will see, and he will give only that much, not how much we deserve. Like we may desire so much, but for our karma only this much. So that much only we'll get. But if we try to please Krishna, Krishna's senses, we will get everything. Okay, by the Lord's will, all his desires are fulfilled. See now, Arjuna's material calculation. He is unable to share opulence with relatives. See, I told you that example, right? You, if any, you get any happiness, you want to share it with everybody. See, you buy a new shirt or a new dress, new frock or whatever dress, a sari or anything you buy. You want to show it to everybody. You want you when you attend a function, you want everybody to praise. You want to show it to everybody. But if the you won't buy that dress and you won't sit in front of the mirror and you won't keep on looking at yourself, right? There's no fun in that. You want to show that dress to everybody and you want everybody to pass comments or remarks that this is very beautiful, you're looking so nice today, like that. So here, Arjuna's, what is Arjuna's material calculation? He is unable to share the opulence. See, after he kills all the relatives on the body, I mean, in the battlefield, whom is he going to share? Even after he gets the kingdom, whom will he share that happiness with? If there is nobody, even if he gets the kingdom, whom will he? I mean, like, whom will he say, yeah, I won the kingdom? Whom will he share it with? That's what he's saying. What is the use? He's unable to share opulence with his relatives because they'll be dead. So he says he decides not to fight even in exchange for 3 worlds. That's why he's saying, I won't fight. Even if you give me all the 3 worlds also, what is the use when there is nobody to share my victory with? I may get everything in the world, everything I will get, but there is nobody to share my happiness with, my victory with. What is the use? So he's calculating materially. Okay. So that is one thing Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Now, spiritual understanding. So Krishna, devotee ready to accept any opulence Krishna wants. And he does not complain otherwise if Krishna does not desire. See, for a devotee, if Krishna gives a devotee any opulence, they accept it and they use it in Krishna's service. They don't misuse it. See, if any money comes their way, they they use it for either in for any service in Krishna consciousness, to spread Krishna consciousness. They use all that money in Krishna consciousness. And if Krishna does not give them money, also they don't complain. Okay, do not complain otherwise if Krishna does not desire. If Krishna does not give, they understand. Maybe this is what I am, this is what is my, this thing. Krishna, maybe he doesn't want to give me more than this because if I get more money, I will be more into sense gratification. So they think it positively. Whatever Krishna does, he does it for my good. Okay, and Arjuna being a devotee, very kind, they whatever Krishna gives, they are happy, the devotees. If they give, if Krishna gives extra money, they use it in Krishna's service. And if Krishna does not even give them they don't complain. They are satisfied with what Krishna gives, right? They understand, they take it positively. If this is what Krishna has given me, this means I should be satisfied with this. And Krishna understands, I mean, they understand that. Okay, if Krishna gives me too much, maybe I will go into sense gratification. That is why Krishna is not giving me. So They try to live happily within that budget itself. Okay. Arjuna, being devotee, very kind-hearted, wants to forgive his relatives. Lord tolerates mischief on himself, not for his devotees. Lord is determined to punish. See, now the Kauravas gave the Pandavas so many difficulties. At every step they faced so many difficulties, but still, Arjuna, being a devotee, being very kind-hearted, he wanted to forgive his relatives. That's why he didn't want to fight. But the devotee may forgive his enemies, but the Lord does not tolerate mischief on his devotees. He never forgives. If anybody harms his devotees, he never forgives. So that is why this whole Kurukshetra happened. One simple reason, because they ill treated Draupadi. That is why this whole Kurukshetra war happened. Right? They ill-treated Draupadi, and for that sake, Krishna could not forgive, because Draupadi was a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Okay, so he Krishna couldn't digest that thing that happened to Draupadi, because of which the whole Kurukshetra happened. So he could not forgive, and he was determined to kill all the Kauravas in this battlefield. Though Arjuna, he was like being a devotee, he wanted to forgive, but Krishna, no, he didn't want to forgive. He wanted to punish everybody, okay, by killing everybody on the Kurukshetra battlefield.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Please tell Prabhuji.
Uh, Mataji, like in the above verse, you showed that compassion and mercy are the two great signs of a pure Vaishnav devotee.
Uh,
So Mataji, like uh, for instance, Arjun had compassion and mercy for Kauravas, and he didn't want to kill them.
hmm.
So did the other Pandavas also had this, or or did they had the seed of revenge against the
No,
Kauravas?
all the Pandavas are of the same qualities. They are all pure devotees, Prabhuji. Definitely they'll have compassion. But here, they didn't bring the context of the other Pandavas. We are just hearing the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. Definitely, Pandavas, all of them are pure devotees. Naturally, they'll have all these compassion and daya. But that is not mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, but only because we can see the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. That is why we know through the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna that all this is happening. Definitely, the other Pandavas also, they are devotees. They will also have that Shama Guna. Definitely, they'll have compassion and everything. They won't be. That's the reason, right? They didn't want to fight initially, also. Even that's why they sent Krishna as a peace treaty, and they said 5 villages, one village for one Pandava. If you give also, we are okay. We don't want the whole kingdom, whole of the kingdom. We don't want. Just give one village for each Pandava. They said that they wanted to avoid war somehow because of that compassion only, because they didn't want all that bloodshed to happen. But Duryodhana, he didn't listen. So they had no option. To establish dharma, they had to fight. So that is the only reason, Prabhuji. Okay. So now let's go to shloka 36. Papam evashrayed asman hatvaitan atat आततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुं धातराष्ट्रान् सबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः श्यामा माधवा. Translation: Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy killing our own kinsmen? So now, see, Arjuna is giving reasons why, how to avoid this war. So different reasons he gave. Till now, he gave two reasons. One is compassion. compassion for the bodies of the relatives. Okay, and second, he's saying enjoyment. I will not be able to enjoy. Right, that is the second reason. I will not be able to enjoy. And third reason, now he's saying sin. Sin will overcome us. If I kill, I will have to face the sin. See, when you kill someone, obviously there'll be sin. But here, according to the Shastras, there are aggressors, 6 kinds of aggressors. Hare Krishna, Krishna Kapoor Prabhuji, during the class, you're not supposed to eat, or at least you please off your video if you're eating, Prabhuji, if you don't mind. Okay, so he's saying sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Okay, therefore, and they'll tell about 5 aggressors here. I'll show you in this thing. See, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. Who are they? One is the poison giver, right? And one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, one who kidnaps another's wife. So these are the 6 kinds of aggressors. They can be killed and punished as punishment. So we should never hesitate to punish such people. Okay, and if we punish such people, we will not get any sinful reaction. And the Kauravas did all these 6 kinds of aggression on Pandavas. Hence, killing them will not give any sinful reaction. Why? See, poison giving. See, when Bhima was small, we all know the Kauravas gave Bhima poison and they pushed him into the ocean or river. And then Bhima, he goes into the river, and there in the Nagaloka, his ancestors were there, and there he drinks something so that he gets the strength of 10,000 elephants. So we know how Kauravas poisoned. So they gave poison and they set fire to the house. That is the Lakshagraha, we know, right? They set fire to their house. And we saw how they attacked with deadly weapons when they were in the forest also. They attacked them with deadly weapons, and they stole all their kingdom, their riches, their one who occupies another land, their kingdom, everything. And they one who kidnaps another's wife, they just try to disrobe Draupadi. So they did all these 6 kinds of wrong things. So people who do those things can be killed as punishment, and there will be no sinful reaction. So the Pandavas blindly can kill the Kauravas and there will be no sinful reaction. But why is still Arjuna saying there will be sin? Because Arjuna is being a devotee, he's being very compassionate. Being a devotee, that is why he's saying all these things. Otherwise, actually, per the Shastras, these a kind of 6 kinds of aggressors, if we kill them as punishment, no sinful reaction will come. Okay, so here Krishna is called Madhava, the husband of goddess of fortune. Why? Arjuna is calling Krishna as Madhava, indicating that Krishna should not engage Arjuna. That would ultimately bring about misfortune. See, Madhava means what? He is the husband of goddess of fortune. And goddess of fortune means what? She brings fortune, right? So here, Arjuna is saying that don't try to bring me misfortune. You are Madhava. You are asking me to kill. See, killing somebody means what? Misfortune. How can you do that? You should say stop the war, to say stop killing. But you're encouraging me to kill. Then how will you become Madhava? See, you are Madhava, you are God, you are the husband of goddess of fortune. So you should bring fortune, not misfortune. But we should understand that Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees, because Krishna is the best well wisher, is the best friend. He can never bring misfortune to anyone. And what to say of his devotees, he will never try to bring misfortune to his devotees. Okay, so let's go to 37. 37 and 38 is one shloka, I think. यद्यापि एते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहतचेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापात् अस्मान् निवर्तितुं कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं Prapashyadbir Translation: O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? So now Arjuna is telling Krishna, see, these people are greedy, so they don't see that killing family is wrong, but I can see it as a big sin. Why should I do something bad even if others are doing it? Right? So, as a warrior, Arjuna was expected to fight when challenged, but he felt that if fighting only brings harm and destroys families, then such a duty should not be followed. Okay, so thinking carefully about right and wrong. So, Arjuna decided not to fight. Okay, so let's see what is given in the PPT. See, Arjuna sees due to greed, the opposite party is ready to fight and kill each other. Arjuna understands the results of war, destruction of family. He sees not benefits in participating in this sinful activity. See, we've earlier discussed, right? Kshatriya should not refuse invitation of gambling and war. At any time, if a Kshatriya is invited for a gambling match or for a war, he should never refuse. He has to accept that. And Arjuna sees the other party is blind to the effect of this challenge. He, knowing the evil consequence, is not ready to fight. Okay? 39. कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्माः सनातना धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मो abhibhavatyuta. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. So here, Arjuna is explaining that when a family is destroyed, its good traditions are also destroyed. Right, in Vedic life, the elders, they play a very important role. So they teach the children how to pray, how to live with values, how to progress spiritually, right from birth until death. So Arjuna is telling, if these elders are killed in the war, the family loses its guidance. And without proper teaching and discipline, the younger generation can fall into bad habits and forget religious principles. And when this happens, the whole family slowly becomes irreligious and loses its spiritual direction. So that is why Arjuna feels that killing elder family members is extremely harmful, not just for the family, but for society and spiritual life as a whole. So that's why he's saying he does not want to kill the head of the family. The head of the family who is giving guidance and giving good values to the family members is killed. The whole family tree is destroyed, right? There is totally irreligion. Religion is destroyed. Okay, nobody is there to give them spiritual values. Who will guide them? Say destruction of dynasty, family tradition is vanquished, family involved in irreligion. Okay, so we generally in Varnashrama system, what they do, elder members of the family are responsible for purifying process in family from birth to death. See, generally it's the grandparents and the parents who give us the spiritual values, the traditions. We continue seeing them, right? So if the elders of the family are killed in the war, who will give all these spiritual values? That is what Arjuna is saying. If we kill the elders in the family, who will guide the others? And afterwards also, because the all the spiritual practices will stop, and death of the elder will stop. See, death of elders will stop purificatory process, and there'll be no purificatory process. Like they don't know what rituals they have to do, and like how to do pindadan. So they don't know anything because there's nobody in the family to teach them how to do and what spiritual practices to do, right? And young members will become irreligious. See, there's nobody to guide the children in the family. Elders are not there, they are killed in the war. So who will guide them? So young members will become irreligious. Now in Kali Yuga, we see how the children are. You know, you can't even correct them. You can see them smoking. They do illicit sex. They take drugs. They smoke. See, because there's no one to control them. Okay, so they lose chance for spiritual salvation, because if the children become like that, obviously they lose chance for spiritual salvation. They can't go to Krishna Loka, right? Where who will give them all the spiritual values? If elders are not there, who will give the children and the other members of the family guidance, right? So they will lose a chance for spiritual salvation. That is what Arjuna is saying. I don't want to be responsible for all that. So I don't want to kill the elder member of the family in war. So if I kill them, all this will happen. That's why I don't want to kill, he's saying. Okay. See, these are the purificatory processes that the elders generally teach us, and we all know most of them, right? These are the main samskaras that we do. See, the first is Garbhadana, before conception we do, and then Pumsavanam, 3rd month of pregnancy, we do one samskara. Simantam is done for, I think most of them do when their wives get pregnant. Is common, they do for protection of the mother and before the child is comes out. Generally it's done in the 6th or the 7th month, 5th to 7th month they do simantam, right? And then jata karmam for intellectual development of child. Namakarnam, right? Name giving ceremony. Nishkramanam, taking child first time out of the house. Annaprasanam, first time, this is generally done in the 6th month. Annaprasan, first time they start feeding rice to the baby, first time feeding solid food. Until that time they're just on mother's milk. Then Chudakarnam, first time hair cutting. Generally it happens in the 9th month. And in the during the 9th month itself, this Karna Vedam, piercing of the ear, anytime after the 9th month. Then Vidya Rambam, child is taught to write first time, right? So Upanayanam, wearing the sacred thread. Then Prairashardham, before and after each year of study. Okay, Keshantam, boys first shave, and Ritushuddhi, girls first menstrual cycle. Okay, and then Samavartanam, end of student life. Okay, before he enters into grihastha life. And then we have a ceremony for vivaham, marriage. And then antyeshti, the last, the death rites. Antyeshti, antim samskara, last rites. So these are the 16 common things that we do. Out of, actually there are totally 40 samskaras. Out of that, these 16 are the main ones. Okay. So who will tell us all these if the elders in the family are not there? If they are dead, the children will become irreligious. They don't know what they have to do, and they will not be able to do any samskaras or pindadana to their ancestors. They anyway they will go to hell, and these people also they will go to hell, because there's nobody to guide them in the spiritual practices. Okay. Now 40, we'll see. Adharma bhavat Krishna.
Mataji,
Yeah, Prabhuji, please.
Mataji, I think we missed a shloka. Did we do shloka number 39?
Yeah,
We
we did.
did.
No, we didn't. We did. No,
We did two shlokas, 37 and 38 were combined.
no, Prabhuji, 39 we discussed, right? This is what we discussed now. See, destruction of family dynasty, and they lose chance for spiritual evolution, salvation. 39 we did. 38 also we did. Yeah, we did, Prabhuji. 38, 39 we did. Yeah, we did, Prabhuji. So 40 we have to do. अधर्म अभिभवात् कृष्णा प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्णसङ्करः. Translation: when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So now, because of irreligion, because there's nobody to guide the women, see, the women are women generally. It is said that they have to be under constant guidance of somebody or the other. See, in the childhood, they are under the guidance of the father, and after marriage in the youth, under the husband. They have to be under the guidance of husband, and in old age, under the guidance of sons. They should never be left alone. But now, see, if their husband or somebody dies in the war, what happens to the woman? Who takes care of them? And the outside men, they take advantage of this woman. Then what happens? They Varna Sankara happens. Unwanted children are created. Right? So that is what happens when irreligion becomes prominent in a family. When the husband is not there, or elders in a family are not there to take care of the women, outside men take advantage of that lady, right? And then what happens? Unwanted progeny happens, and the whole society becomes polluted because of such unwanted progeny. And such unwanted children, they don't have any spiritual values, because the mother herself doesn't have any spiritual value, and obviously the man who comes and pollutes her also, he does not have any values. Obviously the children, where will they get the spiritual values from? So the whole society is totally spoiled. So that's why Arjuna is telling, I don't want to be the reason of such thing, of polluting the society and polluting everybody. Okay, so now let's see what in the PPT 40 they're saying. See here, Arjuna, see, when a family forgets dharma and God, the whole family becomes disturbed. See, elders no longer guide, and that's why good traditions stop. So, women and children who need care and protection, they become confused and misled. Then, unwanted children are born who do not get proper values or spiritual training. So, this creates problems in the society, like fighting, suffering, and fear. Right? So, strong family values, respect for elders, and devotion to God protect everyone and keep the society peaceful. So, that is what we have to understand. Okay, we should have strong family values and respect for elders and devotion to God. So these protect everyone and these keep the society peaceful. Okay. See here, what are they saying? When irreligion becomes prominent, women become polluted, right? And they give rise to unwanted progeny, Varna Sankara. I don't know why it's given in 41. Actually, it's 40. Okay. And because of which risk of war and pestilence happens. Okay. So this creates problems. War and pestilence mean this create problems in society, like fighting and suffering. Because if unwanted people are there, what will happen? Obviously, always fighting only, right? They don't know what are the correct values. They don't have spiritual values, right? They're always fighting, fighting, fighting. They don't know the correct values of life. They don't know the concept of God. Okay, they're always fighting, fighting, fighting. Okay, that's what they're saying. Risk of war and pestilence. Okay, so let's go to 41. Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnaनानां कुलस्य च पतन्ति पितरो हि येषां luptapindodakakriyaha. Translation: an increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down, because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. See what happens when unwanted progeny happens, increase of unwanted population happens. Because and when unwanted population increases, what happens? Hellish life, both for the family. In the family also, it becomes a hell. Why? That also we'll see. And for those who destroy the family tradition, and if Arjuna is thinking he destroyed the family tradition, right? And he's saying that because of me, they will not be getting the spiritual values, and everything will end. Their family will be destroyed. Why? See, because they have no spiritual values, the women or the children in the family, they will not do any pindadana. See, the ancestors of such corrupt families fall down. Why? Because no pindadana is done. They will go to hell, right? Because the performances of offering them food and water are not done. See, generally every year you have to do pindadana to your ancestors, right? If you don't, if the children, they will ask, what is pindadana? They don't know, so they will not do. So how will the ancestors, continue? They can't, right? They will go to hell because the pindadana is not done here. So Arjuna is saying, I don't want to be the reason for such all things, the spiritual values topic and the whole family dynasty to be destroyed just because of me killing the head of the family. Okay, so much loss is there. The women become polluted, and the children will not get spiritual values. The ancestors will not get pindadana. For all these, I will be the reason. So he's saying, I don't want to be the reason for all that. Okay, now let's see. See, hellish condition, ancestors are not delivered, and the whole family tradition will be destroyed. That's what they're saying in 41, 42. Sorry. Okay.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mataji, uh, in this unwanted progeny,
Huh?
the population, there's an increase in unwanted population, uh, but the unwanted progeny normally leads to the degradation of the
Hmm.
child born. Then
No, no, of the
how come?
society, Prabhuji. No, because unwanted children, they pollute the society because they basically don't have any spiritual values, because the parents themselves don't have any spiritual values, right? So such kind of unwanted progeny, they pollute the whole society. They don't know what they are living for, and that's why we see some children, they are smoking, they're into drugs, because parents themselves don't give them values properly. Okay, such people, if you see, I mean, they become polluted. So the more such people increase, the more such like unwanted, they're called unwanted population. We should not create such unwanted population. That's what Arjuna is saying, and I don't want to be the reason for creating such unwanted population. Is that
Mataji,
okay? What is your doubt, Prabhuji?
Mataji, like we see, there are orphanages which have left children, which has left children who have been left by their family. So,
Huh.
Mataji, will we consider those children unwanted progeny?
That I'm not sure, Prabhuji, but here the context that Arjuna is telling is not necessarily all orphan peoples are like that. Some, because they may not have the sufficient money to bring up their children, that's why they are kept in orphanages. We never know the situation, but here the unwanted progeny, there Arjuna is trying to say is because he's killing the head of the family in the war. That is why, because of that, the women, they become widows, and the outside men, they try to take advantage of them, and then because of which they get unwanted children, unwanted progeny. And those children, they don't know, like for their ancestors, because the parents, they don't teach spiritual values, and they don't do a pindadana for their ancestors. So Arjuna is telling all this is related, and just because I killed the head of the family member, all this is happening, and all that I will get all the sin. So I don't want to do, I don't want to be the reason for that sin, for the whole family dynasty to go down. I don't want to take that sin. So that is the reason why Arjuna is saying that. Okay, okay, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's go to 42. So actually, in the previous shloka, see, when families lose the good values and they have unwanted children, so life becomes full of suffering for everyone. When unwanted children are born without good guidance and values, society becomes disturbed. So such people grow without discipline or dharma, which leads to fights, wars, diseases, and suffering. And family traditions break, and even the ancestors suffered because no one offers them prayers or food to them. We are supposed to give food and water every year. So all that is stopped. So normally families help their forefathers by offering food to Lord Vishnu and giving prasadam. So this frees the ancestors from suffering. If they have done any sinful activities, it frees them when this pindadana is done. Okay, but if someone becomes a sincere devotee of Krishna, all duties are automatically fulfilled. So by serving Krishna with devotion, one helps not only oneself but also many generations of ancestors. See, a pure devotee does not have to do all this pindadana because Krishna takes care of everything. All his future generations, past generations, Krishna takes care. But that is only valid for pure devotees, right? Not in general for everybody. We have to do all the normal samskaras that we generally do, okay? But for a pure devotee, he does not have to do all these samskaras because Krishna he takes care. Because pure devotee is always his life and his whole, he's walking, talking, eating, everything he's Krishna, right? So Krishna, for such devotees, he takes care. Everything he takes care. Okay. So let's see 42 now. Dosher etaih kula nananam varna sankara karakaihi utsadyante jati dharmaha kula dharmasya shashvataha. Translation: by the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Okay, so when people destroy family traditions and create unwanted children, society becomes chaotic. Okay, so religious systems means are meant to guide families and communities break down. Okay, and leaders forget the real goal of life, Vishnu. See, nowadays, if you see political leaders, they are not at all spiritual, but by all glories, we have Modi who is trying to spiritually lift us all up. He is trying to include the Bhagavad Gita as a subject. If all of you know the news, that he is trying to introduce Bhagavad Gita as a subject which is compulsory in all the schools now. Right? By Krishna's mercy, hopefully something spiritual enters in all the schools, right? But generally, the political leaders are totally against spirituality. Okay, so leaders they forget the real goal of life, which is Vishnu, and they become blind. So, if we follow such blind leaders, we are also led into confusion, suffering, and disorder. That's why there is so much chaos because if the leaders are spiritual, everything becomes good. Krishna takes care. But if the leaders themselves are blind and we follow such blind people, we also fall into the pit. Right? That's why there is so much confusion, suffering, and disorder in the society. Okay. See, irresponsible leader brings chaos in the society by destroying Sanatan Dharma. See, little bit at least we are able to see now. Nowadays, if you see who's this? I forgot this famous cricket player, Virat Kohli and Anushka Sharma. You see, right? They go to Vrindavan every now and then. They're not at all bothered about all this name and fame. They go to this Premanand Maharaj. There's one famous saint in Vrindavan. They go and they offer their respects. They chant Hare Krishna mantra. Everything they do. They don't eat non-veg. They wear the Tulsi Kantimala. Everything they wear. They're practicing now. Okay. So that's why we should have leaders. Like there may be many followers of Virat Kohli. So seeing Virat Kohli doing such good things, there may be many people who are following him who do such practices, spiritual practices now, right? So that is good. So when a leader is good, everything is good. But nowadays, if you see the political leaders, they don't believe in God itself. And what will they change the society? They themselves are blind to God's spiritual values, and we can imagine how that society will be in which he is ruling, right? So that's why they're saying irresponsible leader brings chaos in society by destroying Sanatan Dharma. Okay, let's go to 43. But if we have spiritual leaders, like if one of our what do you say, people who are practicing Krishna consciousness, they become leaders, maybe there can be a change. They can bring spirituality into the society, right? So something like that. So 43. Utsannakula dharmanam manusyanam janatana narake niyatam vaso bhavatiti anusushrama. Okay, translation. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I've heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So here Arjuna is saying, telling Krishna, Krishna, I'm not speaking from my own ideas. I learned this from great teachers. Okay, so he should understand one thing. Real knowledge comes by hearing from the right authority, not by speculating or by guessing. Okay, so when family traditions are destroyed, people forget religious duties and commit sins, right? Because they don't know what is the correct tradition. If everything is destroyed, so they don't know what is good, what is bad, and they do only sins. So if sins are not corrected through repentance and devotion, if they don't do prayashchitta for the sins, they suffer in hellish life. So therefore, what is Arjuna saying? Protecting family traditions and following Krishna's path saves everyone. So that's why Arjuna is here very particular. He does not want to kill the head of the family. Okay, we should protect the family traditions. Who helps us in protecting the family traditions? The elders of the family, right? They teach us all these values, these purificatory methods, these spiritual practices. They teach us all these. Okay, so protecting, you have to protect the family traditions and follow Krishna's path, practice Krishna consciousness. Okay, this saves everybody. Otherwise, we all will be in hell. That's all. So let's see what's saying the PPT. See, Arjuna heard from Dharma Shastra, those who destroy family tradition will dwell always in hell. Okay, those who become the reason for all this, they dwell in hell. So that's why Arjuna says, I don't want to be the reason for that. That's why I will not fight. He's saying, okay. So let's see 39 to 42. This is what we've discussed till now. Okay. The superiors are killed, the destruction of eternal family tradition, irreligion prominates in the family, women become polluted, and then unwanted children are come, and all because of those unwanted children, all kinds of community. I mean, because there's confusion and chaos in the society. Whatever projects are done, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities, they become devastated because all these unwanted children come and they pollute everything, and they don't have right thoughts, right? So all the community projects and welfare activities, they become devastated. They will result in chaos in society. So much harm is there just by killing the head of the family. That's why Arjuna is telling, I don't want to take all that sin of killing that person, head of the family. Okay.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Mataji, what do we mean by community projects?
Anything, Prabhuji, any community projects, like any social or welfare activities, anything generic, like charity or anything, Prabhuji. It could be. Community means where you gather as a group. Any community, it could be a club or anything. Okay? Any welfare project or something like that. You are donating something as a group or something like that. Anything. Okay, so now let's go to 44. अहो पता महत् पापं कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयं यद्राजसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनम् उद्यताः. Translation. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen. So Arjuna, he feels shocked and sad. He says to Krishna, see how strange and wrong this is. See, just for kingdom and pleasure, we are ready to kill our own family. See here, Arjuna, because he is a devotee, he is thinking about right and wrong. He's not thinking about selfish enjoyment. And a true devotee, he never wants happiness that comes from sinful activities. Okay, so now let's see what they're saying in the PPT. See, Arjuna fearful of sinful reaction, killing the relatives. His desire is not driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. Okay, so he is not, from the beginning itself, we knew that Arjuna is not a person who wants to enjoy the royal throne. They are fighting just for the sake, because Krishna has encouraged them. This is a dharmic war because the Kshatriyas, they need a kingdom to survive. See, they are Kshatriyas, they have to rule. So that is their dharma. They cannot live as Brahmanas going into the forest and begging, and they can't live like that, right? So as their dharma is to rule, that's why Krishna tells them, see, this is your fighting for your dharma. It is not for sense gratification that you are fighting this war, right? This is a dharmic war wherein you're supposed to get you're fighting for your kingdom. It is not for sense gratification. Okay, so Arjuna is saying, driven by desire to enjoy royal happiness, killing relatives. So that's why he's saying, just for the sake of enjoying royal happiness, if I kill my relatives, he's saying I will get sinful reactions. Just for my sense gratification, my getting that kingdom, I want to enjoy that royal happiness, I will kill my relatives, then I will get uh, sinful reactions. I don't want that. So Arjuna is fearful of that sinful reaction. Just for my sense gratification, just for getting, just for enjoying that royal throne, I will have to kill my relatives, for which I'll get sinful reactions. Okay. So four reasons Arjuna is telling. First is, he says, compassion. Next is enjoyment. There'll be no enjoyment. Okay. Third is fear of
Sin,
yeah.
sin, sin,
Sorry,
Mataji.
sorry, Prabhuji.
Mataji, sin would occur, sin would envelop him if he kills his relatives and brothers.
No problem. Third point is, like, if he kills the people, destruction of family dynasty, right? Because if he kills the head of the family member, the whole family dynasty will be destroyed, and he didn't want that to happen. Okay, that is the third reason. And fourth is like fear of sin. If he, just for his sense enjoyment to get the throne, if he kills the relatives, he is getting sin. He didn't want to get that. So that is the fourth reason. So four reason he gives: compassion, no enjoyment, fear of family destruction, And fourth is sinful reaction. Okay. Let's see 45. Yadi mam अप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धातराष्ट्रा रणे हन्युस्तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्. Translation: Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. See, now Arjuna has come to such a point that he's thinking it is better they kill me even if I don't fight. Generally, if a person is unarmed, the other person should not fight. But what is Arjuna saying? It's okay. Even if I'm not taking any weapon, let them kill me. He's saying, let them kill me. It's okay. I'm ready to die without fighting. Even then, if I'm unarmed, also let them kill me. It's okay. Why does he feel this way? He feels this way because his heart is very soft and kind. And this kindness comes from being a true devotee of the Lord. And please don't think this is weakness of the heart. This is the soft heartedness of a devotee, a pure devotee. He has compassion, daya, and mercy. That's why he's saying, it's okay if I'm not, even if I'm unarmed, if they come and kill me, let them kill me. It's okay, no problem. But I am not ready to kill them. Okay. So let's see what they're saying in the PPT. Yeah. See, what is Arjuna saying? Because of getting that sin, he's saying better to die in the battlefield unarmed. This is Arjuna's soft heartedness being a devotee. Okay. So let's see 46. Sanjay Uvacha Evam Uktvarjunaha Sankhye Ratopastha Upavishad Visrajya sa Sharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. Translation: Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bows and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. So now Arjuna, he became overwhelmed with sadness. So he put down his bow and arrows and sat down unable to fight. See, because his heart was soft, kind, and devoted, he was now ready to receive spiritual knowledge from Krishna. See, from the second chapter, we'll see how, because of, see, these are the qualities that are required for us to grasp the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna had these qualities, that his heart was soft, kind, and devoted, for which, because of which, he is ready to take the Bhagavad Gita. So that is how we have to accept the Bhagavad Gita, but not in a challenging way. Okay? That's why the Bhagavad Gita is best understood by the devotees and not by non devotees. So, non devotees, that's why they remove the concept of Krishna. They understand the philosophy, but without Krishna. Okay? They don't accept Krishna as a personality, supreme personality of Godhead. They imbibe the philosophy, but they don't take Krishna. They forget Krishna. They remove Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita, and remaining else they take. But the devotees, for them, everything is Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So this is like a stage so that Krishna can start giving the Bhagavad Gita from the second chapter to Arjuna. Okay, so with this we complete chapter 1. So if any of the devotees have any doubts, please feel